Hello. Video should be live by now. Welcome to Fanfic Friday. Let me see where I put the image. Here we go. Okay, I made the computer angry. Alright, we'll give it a few minutes, see who pops in. Come on, computer, hurry up. Hello, Cygnus. Virene, I hope I said that right. Thanks for joining us. Alright, and it should be going up on the Discord in a minute. Alright, well, once again, we are at Fanfic Friday, which is where I read old fanfics I wrote as a tween/teenager, and we, are horrified together as a collective at the, things that I have written in the past. The increasing wildness, what I thought passed as romantic, all sorts of errors and problems, just so incredibly strange things. This week is a continuation of the Sephiroth story I was writing, which was a romance between Sephiroth and a normal girl in the normal world, and it's so weird. How's my day been? It's been alright. I've had family in town the last couple days, so they left last night, and I've spent today kind of cleaning up behind my niece and tidying up my room. She likes to play in here, because this is the cool bedroom, as she told me. It was quite fun, but I am now exhausted from the combination of socializing with humans, and then having to clean house. I'm so tired. This may end up being my only stream today, but I think we're gonna play a game tomorrow, since we haven't played games too much this week. Hello, Jessica. Welcome. And we're streaming a little later than normal, because I was tired and cleaning house, and ugh. Alright. So last time, a lot of weird shit happened. The main character was attacked, and Sephiroth showed up and saved her, and there was some weird scene. Kadaj showed up, and there were some weird scenes with Kadaj. Just so much that's hard to explain. Hello, Lobsel. Hello, Konami. So we're just gonna jump in. You'll notice that I don't have any images this week. Usually I do the images by kind of scrolling through the story, trying not to really read it, but to get the gist so I can make some funny images. After how weird and off the rails it went last time, I decided I wanted to go into it completely blind. No reading ahead, no imagery, just us and this wild story. It only gets weirder from here, folks. Hello, Isaac. Welcome. We are on chapter 5. Entitled Hero, and chapter 5 has some quotes. I remember exactly using these quotes and why I used them. Remember the show Grey's Anatomy? So Grey's Anatomy was really popular, I think, at the time I was writing this, and my mom watched it on and off, and I watched an episode with her, and there was some quotes from the main character that I was like, oh, that's so deep and cool. So even though they have nothing to do with the story, I have bookended it with quotes from Grey's Anatomy. It opens with a quote and it ends with a quote. Good job, me. How far removed from Kadaj's actual characterization is the fanfic version? I honestly cannot remember. I mean, other than what so far, I feel like they're kinda in character. Like, Kadaj and Loz and Yazoo are kind of like whiny crybabies a little bit, and they're overly emotional, you know. But again, I wrote this when I was like 14, so who knows if it's gonna stay slightly in character. Oh, well, thank you, Jessica. I'm glad this can make your day. And hello, Leon, Elfin, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I guess I have to stop putting it off and read to you the Grey's Anatomy quote that starts this story. Disappearances happen. Pain goes phantom. Blood stops running and people fade away. There's so much more I have to say. but I've disappeared. Meredith Grey, Grey's Anatomy. Definitely has a lot to do with my Final Fantasy VII Sephiroth fanfic. So the last chapter ended with Sephiroth saying that Cloud Strife was one of his brothers. So it opens with the main character going, I knew that name. Heavens above, I knew that name. But where? Why was it so familiar to me? Sephiroth noted my shock and confusion. I felt pinpricks in the back of my mind. Something was going on, but I had no clue what. Lunchtime. With a childish grin, Kadaj came into the room, followed by Furball. The cat ran to Sephiroth as always, and he rolled his eyes but left it alone. Kadaj placed my meal in front of me. Thank you, I murmured. Kadaj beamed. You're welcome, sister. Kadaj walked over to Sephiroth and sat beside him, and Hey began a quiet conversation. The tea and they was missing. As I began eating, I contemplated all that was going on around me. Strange things happening to Samantha Wiley. I don't know if I've given her a last name before, but apparently her last name now is Wiley. And what were they calling her? They were calling her Junie, something. Who knows? This woman has 1,000 names and is a 19-year-old ex-Marine. Weird mental feelings. Sephiroth's strange behavior. Kadaj calling me his sister. Me remembering the name Cloud Strife. As I thought, I remembered also that I needed to get back to writing. Though I really didn't want to, I had a deadline. Once I finished, I stood and set the tray aside. I was very wobbly, but I had to get to work. Where are you going? Kadaj asked. I have a lot of work to do. I opened the door to step outside. Once the door opened, I immediately flew backward when Lowe's and Yazoo burst in, grabbing hold of my arms and throwing me back on the bed. That is a healthy way to deal with someone who was stabbed in the stomach. I shrieked in surprise as the two laughed. Sephiroth stood, chuckling with a smirk. Did you really think we'd let you get up now? You're hurt and you're staying in bed, Kadaj smirked. Lowe's was snickering his head off. What is snickering his head off? Just pops off. And Yazoo spoke to me in his smooth voice. Sorry, sister, he smiled. I gawked at them. Well, you didn't have to do that. That burst the bubble, and they all laughed. Well, Sephiroth chuckled. I realized Sephiroth never laughed or smiled. His eyes lit up, or he might chuckle or smirk, but he'd never smile. I huffed angrily. Grabbing a pillow off my bed, I threw it at Sephiroth. It hit its target directly in the chest, and the laughing ceased. My heart... Oh my god. My heart skipped a beat. Had I messed up? Suddenly, my mind burst with a fevering, burning sensation, as if I were... Oh, no! Oh, as if I were being caressed and held and licked and touched with fervor and love and passion. It was a warm, erupting flame that severed my thoughts, a bomb of feelings I'd never dreamed or imagined or wanted. But I wanted them now. I so wanted them. So I think the implication here is that they have some kind of mind link, some kind of like Vulcan mind connection, and apparently he's turned on by her pillow fighting? Actually, isn't that kind of that is kind of a thing, ain't it? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I'm not. I can't. I don't know why we're doing. Why are we doing this? Remind me again why we're reading this. Sephiroth's eyes as he looked at me after I threw the pillow at him. It was as if he'd never been so passionate. His eyes were almost on fire, as if I'd done something to awaken happiness in him. My heart flew. I felt a pillow slam into my head. Sitting up, I looked to see Kadaj grinning. Smirking, I grabbed a pillow and thrust it at his head. How many pillows are on this bed? He dodged easily. It was then I realized how royally screwed I was. 4 angels. One being the ultimate embodiment of my, well, you know. What? As Kadaj retrieved the pillow I'd attacked him with, the 4 of them gave me devilish grins. I might have lost one of my 9 lives that day. Are you a cat? Are you a cat? lives. It was nighttime, and my thoughts were bugging me. Who was Cloud Strife, and why did my mind give me such fits? Groaning, I tried to bury my head in my pillow. I wanted to disappear. Oh my god. Ring, ring, ring. Click. Hello, this is the Wiley residence. We are either out or being lazy. Leave a message. Click. Hey, Sammy, it's me, your wonderful agent, Crystal. Haha! I think I've got a deal for you. Why don't you come over to my house tomorrow? We can have a sleepover. Maybe you'll finally play video games with me. I mean, I really think you'll like Final Fantasy. There's a bunch of awesome stuff. Click. Apparently, there's still 12. I awoke at 4 in the morning. Of course, it takes me forever to fall asleep, and yet I wake up early. The first thing I noticed was the beep of the answering machine. Sleepily, I pushed the button. Again, what year is this that there are still answering machines? Oh my god. I knew it immediately was my agent, Crystal Meth. Okay, so her name wasn't really Crystal Meth, but I call her that because she acts like she's on drugs half the time. She's the only friend I have other than the angels. She's what you'd call an otaku. Don't get her started on that. We've only been reading for 10 minutes, and so much has happened. This stream gets starting my stepladder. Listen, I got tired and didn't finish what I was working on, so the stepladder stays. I heard the call end and slammed my head into the pillow. I guess it's time for a visit to the city. Good morning, I greeted the drowsy inhabitants of my kitchen. Yazoo and Kadaj were drinking coffee with sleepy sighs, but to my surprise, Lowe's was quite awake. Kadaj smiled. Good morning, sister. Making myself some coffee, I took a seat. So how are you guys? Yazoo and Lowe's fidgeted, and Lowe's childish grin faded swiftly. Mother's gone, Yazoo murmured. Sobs erupted from Lowe's throat. I gulped, afraid to say a word. The last time I tried, I ended up with glass shards in my neck. The air was almost moist with sadness. The air was moist with sadness. Ugh. It's okay. To my surprise, Kadaj lifted his head to his brother's. We have sister now. Oh, God. Flushing, I looked to my lap, twiddling my thumbs. Yazoo smiled and bent to look at me. We love you. My heart began to beat faster. Does that bother you? The nonchalant way he spoke, the way Yazoo's soft voice was soft yet strong. His voice was soft yet strong, like the sound of a coming avalanche. The way his sneaky yet twinkling eyes set into mine. They set into hers? Almost made me burst! Don't scare her, brother, Lowe's chuckled. I looked to him. Lowe's perhaps the most childish, yet the physically strongest. Lowe's perhaps the most childish, yet the physically strongest. Okay. Lowe's whose eyes burned like the sunrise, blazing with purpose and power and meaning. His rumbling voice like thunder made me tremble. Are you just horny for all the... You're 14 and you're horny for everyone, I forgot. 2 more angels had become members of my household. The beauty and strength in the midst of my ugliness and weakness astounded and scared me. I felt like... Phil! Their eyes met physically. Ouch. I felt like disappearing, yet I never wanted to leave them. Furball leapt into my lap with a mew, and I woke from my thoughts. Are you okay, sister? Tired? Kadaj mocked gently. Overwhelmed, Yazoo added. Finding it hard to breathe, Lowe's smiled. Maybe. Okay, so they're all just horny for each other, as you are in teenage fanfic. The sun had come up, and I was depressed I hadn't seen it. But talking to Kadaj and the others had been fun. Intimidating, yet fun. I can't understand what any of these sentences mean or why they're written the way they are. After our talk, Kadaj disappeared into the library, and Lowe's and Yazoo walked outside, talking animatedly. I stepped out onto the front porch, and to my surprise, there sat Sephiroth. He spent his mornings outside, apparently. Good morning, I murmured. Good morning. I smiled softly at the sound of his voice. I was a bit intimidated. but I stepped up to him and sat down next to him, my cheeks blood red. The sky was glistening today. It looked like rain. Usually, the Georgia's sky was sky blue, but today it resembled Sephiroth's eyes? So it was green? The sky was green. Sighing, I set my empty cup aside and began putting on my boots, which apparently are outside. I'll be back later, I smiled to Sephiroth. Before I could come to my senses, I lightly kissed Sephiroth's cheek and then turned and ran down the pathway. Oh my god. Oh no! Oh no! No, I shouldn't read this because this isn't my shame. This is my friend wrote a poem and we put it in my story. Oh. She and I wrote fanfic together sometimes. Oh no. Oh, I shouldn't read her. Oh, she probably wouldn't care. Oh, man. If you must cry, then weep and weep again. My shoulder is yours. If you have burdens, worry not. I will help you to carry them. If you have troubles, don't despair. I will do my best to help you. Just tell me, if I must weep, spilling tears from my eyes, will your shoulder be mine? If I have burdens, must I worry, or will you help me carry them? If I have troubles, can I rest assured that you will do your best to help me through them? Or are you not my friend? That's the best goddamn thing we've read so far, and I didn't even write it! I gotta let her know about this. Oh my god. Damn it! I didn't even write that. Ugh. Bye, Jessica. Thanks for joining us. There's double audio? Oh, you're right. I apologize. I think that should fix it. Alright, yeah, that should do it. Okay, let's move that. I'm very upset that the best thing in my story is not written by me. The drive into Atlanta didn't take long, and on the way it rained. My dirty, beat-up van didn't take to it well, but I arrived in Atlanta in one piece. Atlanta held boatloads of memories for me. My mom and I used to go there once a month to shop, sometimes dragging my brother along. Usually it was just Mom and me. We'd spend the day walking and shopping. I'd always beg her to bring me into the bookstores, and she didn't mind. I only ever read comic books, like Superman or Batman, but Batman mainly. When we got older, we'd eat out on those nights and look at hot guys. It always interested my mom to know who I thought was pretty. Those were the best nights of my life. You know, that does not sound too different from a night with me and my mom, so it's not, that sounds like a night with my mom. When it rained like it was now, we'd dance in the streets and lap it up. We didn't ever do that. Now that I think about it, the last night I spent with my mom, we went to Atlanta. Mom bought a ball gown for her anniversary? She bought a ball gown for her anniversary, and she let me try some wine when we got to the restaurant? Weren't you like 7, 8, something when she died? I spat it out and Mom laughed. My mom died that night. My mother, I missed her. I still do. Listen to me sounding like Kadaj. Like Sephiroth said, she's gone. And like Kadaj said, I have my brothers now. I was still soaking wet when Crystal opened the door. Sammy! Crystal Cummins, or Crystal Meth, reminded me of a hyena. A very beautiful hyena. A gorgeous woman with the laugh of a hyena, and all the spite of a teenager. What does that mean? I hugged Crystal, and she jumped when I got her wet. Hey, Chris. How have you been? Come on, let's have fun! Shaking my wet body, because I'm apparently a dog, I stepped in and looked around her apartment. It was what you'd expect for a 25-year-old editor. It's a great description. The room was what you'd expect! Hungry? I'll make something. Why don't you pick out a movie? Smiling, I dropped my bag and walked to the movie shelf. Ramen, she asked? Sure. My eyes skimmed the shelf. One movie was lying out, cover facing up. My heart froze. Sam, what do you want to drink? Slowly, I reached for the movie, picking it up with my trembling hands. Sam? Crystal appeared in the doorway. What's this? I asked her, trying to calm down my voice. Crystal giggled. Only the greatest movie ever, based off the greatest video game ever. She hopped back into the kitchen. So what do you want to drink? Anything, I whispered, trembling. My voice barely made a sound. Okay. Every part of my brain was screaming. The movie in my hands seemed to intimidate me, shock me, and intrigue me at the same time. It held my answers, I knew. But what if I didn't want the answers? What was the truth and what was the opposite of it? What was the truth and what was the opposite of it? I read the title of the best movie ever. It was called Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, and Sephiroth and Kadaj were on the front cover. And then we have the closing Grey's Anatomy quote. Things happen. We can't explain them. We can't control them. But they do happen. Miracles do happen. They happen every day. Just not always when we need them to happen. Let's all consider what the fuck that has to do with anything that happened in this chapter. Oh my god. Chapter 6 also opens with a quote. I don't even know what this quote is. Let's see if I can find out what it's from. Let me get my select text. The quote is, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." So let's all remember that in our hearts and think about what that might mean in relation to this chapter once we're done with it. It looks like this is just a quote that's on quotes. Like if you Google deep quotes, you get this quote from a guy named Buckminster Fuller. So I just Googled quotes and was like, that one sounds cool. And I put it in the story. Chapter 6. Alright, let's start the movie. Crystal prepared our ramen and we ate our fill. I was in a confused daze, and I'm not sure my hyper friend noticed. After she asked me what movie I wanted to watch, to her surprise, I asked if we could watch Final Fantasy. That's fine with me, she said. Yay! So that's how we ended up on the sofa, playing the movie which I had no clue about. It began with this red cat guy, and he was running through a canyon. He came up this cliff and started jumping up the side, and when he got to the top, he roared in triumph. Before him was this awesome jungle. Then these Japanese words came up, and I ignored them. Oh my god. Am I going to just reiterate the movie Advent Children? I think I'm just about to reiterate. Oh my god, the life stream. It was so beautiful, the green flowing energy on the screen. It was almost real. Something in me understood it, as if it was the simplest fact of life. Another part of me couldn't comprehend its life and beauty. If anyone can explain what that paragraph meant, I'll give you $300. The beginning part of the movie was an explanation. It talked of a company called Shinra, who supported the world Gaia with energy, but the energy was taken from the planet. Were we taking away the planet's life? It talked about a group called Soldier and a creature named Genova, and then there was one soldier named Sephiroth who was better than the rest. But when he learned of the terrible experiments that made him, he began to hate Shinra, and slowly over time, he began to hate everything. According to the narrator, Sephiroth had been created by scientific experiments, and finding out about them drove him insane. Experiments? Insanity? Soldier? Shinra? Grasping the remote, I paused the DVD just as the image of Sephiroth was about to disappear into flames. Sam, what? Crystal began, confused. Tell me everything, I whispered, from the beginning. We sat in complete silence. I heard the clock tick the seconds by, and each second passed like an eternity. Neither one of us said a word. I was staring numbly at the TV screen, telling myself everything would be okay, that I would make sense of all the confusion and mystery and shit dumped into my lap. But there was that little voice in the back of my head telling me I was already drowning beneath the waves. Sam? Crystal murmured, gently letting her hand touch my shoulder. They're at my house, I managed to whisper. Crystal looked me over, confused and concerned. She'd never seen me like this before. I was always a calm person. What do you mean? They're at my house, damn it! I screamed. Kadaj, Loz, Yazoo, Sephiroth, they're at my house! Crystal stood in shock and horror. She knew I wasn't kidding. It wasn't often I joked about anything, and I certainly never went to such lengths. I refused to cry in front of people too, and I was breaking that rule. I heard Crystal whimper as she took it in. Trembling in surprise and even fear, she curled up next to me. Crystal had told me everything, from the beginning to Meteor. I'm sorry, but when you expect to hear the phrase from beginning to end, but from beginning to meteor, that's great. From beginning to meteor, which technically is also an end. You know, most of the time, meteors, not good for anyone. I knew the gist of what had happened in Final Fantasy VII about how Cloud Strife killed Sephiroth. Are you afraid? Crystal whispered into my hair. Of course. But I'm most afraid because I love them. A lot, I sobbed. I love them so much. Soothing me, Crystal let me cry into her chest. She might have cried a few tears herself. Tears of joy. Crystal had always been in love with Cloud Strife. That's how I knew his name, from listening to Crystal's rants about him. What will you do now? Sniffling, I sat up staring at the TV. You know what? I smiled solemnly and turned to look at my friend. I think I'm going to watch a movie. 3 hours after the movie ended, I was still awake. I couldn't sleep if I wanted to. Every thought muscle in my brain hurt. Every thought muscle. I felt like I was floating in between, that the night around me was a haven from everything, that I wouldn't have to deal with the truth for as long as night reigned. My poor angels. I wondered if Sephiroth's life had been as empty as mine. But the difference is, I had fulfillment for a little while, and now I have it back. I wondered what Zack was thinking. Did he still care for Sephiroth? He must. Was he here, just beyond my reach? No, I hoped he was with the others. My life had not been turned upside down. My life had been shattered. But that's fine. It had been a nasty, unclean gray wall of glass, unreflecting and unmoved. Now it was shattered and reflected thousands of different hues in the awe-inspiring light. My poor, monstrous angels. Remember when I said I thought this story was one of the better ones I wrote as a kid? Remember? God above, I clearly repressed so much of this. I was so proud of this story when I was a child. Oh my god. I awoke to two faces hovering above mine. Ah! I screeched, not being in a good mood first thing in the morning. Morning, sister, Lowe's greeted. Yazoo nodded to me and helped me stand. That's the second time you've done that, I huffed, stumbling on my feet. Yazoo helped steady me. I looked over Yazoo's shoulder to look at Crystal. Okay, so these two have just found her at her friend's apartment, and her friend is not freaking out about the fact that fictional characters are real now. Fictional characters are real, and she's cool with it. I looked over Yazoo's shoulder to look at Crystal. She mouthed to me, "You're so lucky." Smiling, I greeted her. "Good morning, Chris." "Morning." For a person who hates waking up, she was rather happy and alert, but I knew why, of course. Yawning, I rubbed my eyes and walked over to Crystal, and she promptly threw my bag at me. "Get dressed," she grinned. "Let's get going." Where are we going? What is happening? Oh my god. I was dressed in a flash, eagerly. I wanted to go out and have fun, and forget all the pain and confusion. I wanted to hang with Crystal and Yazoo and Lowe's, and I wanted to forget for a while. Sure, it wouldn't be real, but would it really be fake? Dropping these deep truth bombs. So in 10 minutes, we were out the door. "What is this place?" Lowe's murmured. I grinned. "Welcome to Atlanta, Georgia." Just all of it. Not a specific part, not a... God. There is a subtitle here that says, "Our Fun Day, Part 1, exclamation point. Crystal and I dragged Yazoo and Lowe's to the mall department stores. Tell me, dear Lowe's. Oh my god. Oh my god. Tell me, dear Lowe's, Yazoo murmured, does this dress make me look fat? Lowe's looked Yazoo's black gown over as he stood in his yellow gown. Maybe, Yazoo huffed sarcastically. Bitch. Meanie, Lowe's sniffed. Here, this one compliments your eyes, Crystal said. Yazoo took the green dress from her, thanked her, and awkwardly hobbled into the dressing room. He wasn't used to walking in heels. So now we're just at the mall putting the silver-haired trio into dresses. Next, we put on our own clothes and went into the nail salon. We were all leaning back having our nails painted. My colleagues all chose black, but I decided to be different and choose green, like Sephiroth's eyes. Oh, Jesus Christ. Can I skip the next? I should skip it. No, I don't want this. And I, walked into the party, and she, totally stole my dress, Yazoo flagrantly spat out. OMG, what a bitch, Lowe's gawked. It was so fake, it was hilarious. The salon girls laughed as Yazoo and Lowe's flirted with them and acted stupid and made fools of themselves. Later, we all began throwing pillows at each other in the back room. They just let us in the back room of the nail salon and we threw pillows at each other? What is this? I hit Lowe's really hard on the arm and he pretended to gasp and said, I broke a nail. Moving on, we decided to check out music. Just music, not a store, not a place, just check out music. I scanned the CD racks absent-mindedly. Once in a while, I picked something up that I thought the guys might like. Those two were practically glued to the headphones. Yazoo was at the moment holding the headphones on his ears and bobbing his head, dancing to the music. I looked at the screen and unplugged the headphones. And I am feeling fine, Crystal squeaked. It's L'Arc-en-Ciel! Lowe's began bouncing up and down the aisles, dodging two customers as he pretended to play guitar. Crystal grinned and ran to the panel, and Alice 9's Jellyfish began to play. Because I wrote this in middle school, and all we listened to was J-pop. Yazoo began spinning, flashing peace signs. Giggling, I ran over to him, and we took hands and began bouncing in circles. You know that move guitarists do, when they slide across the floor? Lowe's attempted to do so, but he ran into Yazoo's legs and mine. We toppled over each other as Crystal's hyena laughter met our ears and customers ducked for cover. Oh no! We were kicked out very quickly. As we walked over, Crystal seething, Yazoo grinned evilly and unzipped his jacket. I looked at him. His jacket was full of CDs. We just got kicked out of a store and committed crimes. He just stole all the what? Let's play the mannequin game, Crystal cheered. Both Yazoo and Lowe's were lost, and so was I. Enlighten us, strange one, I joked. The game is, we do crazy stuff in a department store, and whenever anybody walks by, we freeze like mannequins. I blinked. What kind of game was that? It sounded like something Crystal would make up, so I glared at her. Lowe's and Yazoo looked at one another. Okay, they cheered. I groaned. Let's start, Crystal cheered. We stood in the Macy's clothing department. Okay. Lowe's turned to Yazoo immediately. Cluck like a chicken. Yazoo blinked. Are you kidding? Come on, please, Crystal begged, huffing. Yazoo obliged. We all laughed, and almost immediately someone headed our way. We froze, Yazoo in mid-cluck, and the three of us in mid-laugh. The man eyed us with confusion and distaste before scurrying away. As soon as he was gone, we all laughed. Did you see the look on his face? I guffawed. Turning to Crystal, I asked her for a Sharpie. She always had one. Grinning, she handed me one, and took a blue one for herself. Both of us grinned evilly and uncapped the markers, turning to Yazoo and Lowe's. You can tell this was written by a middle schooler. Scribbling madly, we covered both of their faces. We stopped is mid-scribe. When a group of gaggling girls scurried by. Done, Crystal backed up to view our work. Yazoo had a mustache and goatee, along with football markings under his eyes. What are football markings? And a unibrow. His eyebrows curled up evilly. As for Lowe's, he had an eye patch? How do you do an eye patch in Sharpie? You color your whole face? Curly cues on his cheeks and his forehead read, loser. The two of us giggled. Alright, there is a paragraph here in parentheses, and it says, before anyone sends the writer hate mail, let me say Lowe's is my favorite, and I've had loser written on my forehead before in gym class at school by my friends. Meanies. I remember that. Why did we have Sharpies in gym? But they did. I can't remember. I think it might have been the same girl that wrote the poem in the other chapter. I remember they did write loser on my forehead. How did we not get in trouble for that? Good work, we complimented each other. Lowe's and Yazoo turned to see each other. Loser, ha! Yazoo laughed. Lowe's gave him the finger, and the two brothers began arguing. They had to stop when an old lady hobbled by. That's the longest I've ever stood in one position before. When they resumed, a fist fight broke out, but the fight paused when two teenagers came by. Oh, God! One of the teenagers looked at Crystal and said, nice breasts, and Crystal tried to maim him. When they left, Crystal decided it was time to move on. Okay, Lois has a cell phone apparently, and it rings with the Final Fantasy ringtone that it does in the movie, and I guess he has cell phone service in Earth. Yeah, Lois looked at me. Uh-huh, we got it. When? Okay, we'll go. Meet us. Crystal looked back. Lowe's explained that Kadaj was going to meet them somewhere so we could eat, since he was bored stiff hanging out with the bundle of fun Sephiroth. How about Arby's? This whole time, I haven't been specific about any place. We're in Atlanta at a mall looking at CDs. Like, I haven't really been naming locations, but now we're going to Arby's. Oh, it's gotta be because Atlanta has the famous Arby's with the giant hat and the... Okay. That's gotta be why. Lowe's told Kadaj to meet us in 10 minutes at Arby's, which isn't my favorite place, but it did have good ice cream. So there we were in 10 minutes. Kadaj came up through the crowd and gave me an enormous bear hug. You don't know how bored I was. Well, you could have come with us in the first place, Yazoo taunted. Kadaj pouted. I was sleepy. I had to giggle at that one. We piled into the restaurant, each shoveling out our money. Kadaj had the foresight to raid my piggy bank at home, but Yazoo and Lowe's didn't have any money. I paid for Lowe's, and Crystal said she'd paid for Yazoo. Luckily for her, Yazoo only wanted some fries and a drink. As for me, I don't think I've ever seen anyone order so much. Lowe's ordered chicken strips, a sandwich, curly fries, a fruit cup, ice cream, and a soda. I barely had enough for me, but luckily I only wanted ice cream. Lowe's lumbered out the door with his order. Crystal laughed. What are you doing? Feeding an army? He just grinned. We all went out into the grass, because apparently there is grass in Atlanta, and you're just going to eat out on the grass in the front of an Arby's. We sat down to eat and talk. I pulled out my camera phone. Photographs. I think we might have taken thousands of them. Different hues and shades and colors and designs of our lives, formed into the shapes of memories. So we've gone and done a massive U-turn from ridiculous teenage movie montage of stupid teenagers at a mall. Now we're back to trying to be artsy and deep and spiritual. The corner of Kadaj's face as Crystal tripped with the camera. My hand as I attempted to cover the screen. Yazoo and Lowe's throwing flies at each other. One of them got stuck in Yazoo's hair. All of us beneath the tree eating and laughing. Me with ice cream on my shirt. Aren't they cute? Crystal and I scrolled through the pictures. She was leaning over my shoulder to look at them. I look like a dork, I chuckled. Yazoo laughed when I turned the camera so everyone could see. I threw a french fry at him. That must have hurt, Lowe's added. He got a french fry in the face. As we finished our late lunch, it was almost 5:30 by the time we were done, and packed up, Kadaj and Lowe's put their arms around my shoulder. Sister, Kadaj sang, we have a surprise. I huffed in annoyance and tried to get away. They wouldn't have that. What? I complained playfully. Yazoo's came up behind me. Big brother's coming, he grinned. I froze. Kadaj and Lowe's didn't stop fast enough and fell face first into the dirt. What? Yazoo gave me a devilish smirk. Tell us, Crystal ordered. You're going to meet him tonight, Kadaj smirked. On a date, Lowe's added. With Sephiroth, Yazoo grinned. Lowe's glared at him. No, with Rufus Shinra. Yazoo rolled his eyes. I was trembling. As the brothers bickered, Crystal came up to me. Sammy? She asked. I turned to her. Oh, I'm screwed. Look at me. Crystal gave me a sympathetic look as she looked at what I was wearing. My father's old Got Beer t-shirt. Ripped jeans and unclean and covered in grass stains. Why is it always this Got Beer t-shirt? Why is this the only t-shirt this girl owns? Crystal sighed. She glared daggers at the brother. How dare you wait so long to tell us? Oh no. You're right. She didn't order fries, did she? How dare you poke more holes in my story, Phil? How dare you wait so long to tell us? All three of them turned to attention when they saw me and became confused and sad. I'm sorry, Kadaj mumbled, running up and hugging me. Yazoo and Lowe's followed behind somberly. We should have thought ahead, Lowe's murmured. It's okay. Let's just get this over with. I can't do this. I felt very stupid. Across the street was the restaurant. Not a terribly fancy one, but not exactly a sports bar either. We've gone from Arby's to a restaurant. It was a bar, a place my mom and I used to go to. Because my mom brought me to a bar, which my parents did do that to me, so I can't say anything there. We were on the other side of the street, our heads poking out from behind a corner. Crystal gave me a sympathetic look, and for the 5th time in an hour, bonked the brothers on their heads. Kadaj looked at me. Don't worry, Sephiroth will love you. You're beautiful. No, I'm not, I complained moodily. There he was, standing on the corner waiting for me. There he was. I said there he... Oh, okay, I'm repeating there he was, I guess, to emphasize it. There he was, standing on the corner waiting for me. There he was, tall and elegant, and as couples walked by into the restaurant, the women kept their eyes on him, as their dates wanted more than anything to make him disappear. There he was, my angelic date, the most handsome man I'd ever met. And here I was, on the side of the street, in a beer shirt covered in ice cream. He stood in a black tux, with a rose in his hand, a single white rose. His hair sparkled in the light, and his eyes searched the streets desperately. Did he look worried? Concerned? Uncertain? Was Sephiroth actually unconfident? Hell will freeze over. Lowe's and Yazoo will prance through Atlanta naked. Kadaj will become president before that happens. I flushed and looked away, but Crystal growled. Just go have fun, she insisted. I groaned with exasperation. Yazoo huffed and tried to push me into the street and into sight. Oh no! I stood my ground. Sighing, Lowe's and Yazoo attempted to shove me out there, but I wouldn't budge. The four of them looked at one another, gave me one monster shit. It's supposed to say one monster shove, but I misspelled it, so it says one monster shoe. They gave me one monster shoe before finally pushing me into his line of sight. One monster shoe. I don't know why that image is so funny. One monster shoe. Every coherent thought disappeared as he strode towards me. His eyes were burning into me, devouring me, overwhelming me. I was about to collapse from the pressure, as I felt like a tsunami roared through my mind. When I opened my eyes, there he was, standing right in front of me. His scent tickled my nose. Tickled it. A crisp, rough forest scent. The warmth of his body beckoned me. I wanted him to hold me, to keep me warm, and I wanted to cry. I was overwhelmed. Why did it keep happening to me? Why did it keep happening to me? Who knows what it is, but it keeps happening. I guess it's like the weird mind connection is she talking about? This time was the worst of them all. It felt as if he was inside of me and all around me and everywhere. It was too much and so beautiful, I felt like I would die. Sephiroth looked over my shoulders to the others. They immediately dispersed, but of course Kadaj had to drag Crystal away. He looked back down to me. I regained control and backed away. In shame, I hung my head and tried to cover my shirt. A hand lifted to my face when I tried to back away again. He came towards me and held onto my chin. I could feel his gaze on me as my heart raced and my emotions got the better of me. I'm sorry I'm so bad looking. His deep, husky voice made me tremble. Bad looking. No, he murmured and elongated the word. Bad. Bad looking. How do you elongate? I don't know what that means. Bad looking. When he began to lean towards me, I felt I would burst. In anticipation, I leaned towards him. I heard him chuckle as he came up and lightly kissed my cheek. I gasped as his mouth hovered over my cheek. His lips were so warm and soft, and again he leaned down and caressed my cheek. I think I said my cheek 4 times. Sephiroth, I murmured. He chuckled and stood, his body still very close to mine. He held up the beautiful white rose. I stood in awe of it, the lone rose. Lightly I took hold of it and held it to my chest. Thank you, I murmured. Come, he whispered into my... Oh no, he whispered. Come, he whispered into my ear and gently led me to the restaurant. How is this so horny when all they've done is, like, look at each other? The first time I'd entered that restaurant had been with my mother, and we'd spent the entire time looking at boys. So apparently that's all these people did. This time I had eyes for only one man. It was like I was in a dream. At any moment I might awaken in a sweat with Crystal's face leering down at me. I was a fairy tale princess, all dressed up in my Converses and souvenir t-shirt, being escorted by the most handsome, angelic knight. Of course. Oh my god! Of course, he'd once been a murdering madman. But don't all princes start as frogs? Oh my god! Oh my god! That's not the same! That's not the same! No! That's not the same thing! Oh my god! No! Oh my god. What's your favorite color? Sephiroth blinked at me. What? My favorite color, he mumbled. Black, I suppose. What a surprise, I joked. Playfully, he leered at me. You, he asked. Green. I met his eyes shyly, and he smirked. Green? Sure, green, Sephiroth said. What do you want to talk about? I traded the conversation over to him. Why do you do that? He wondered, leaning towards me. We were at a circular booth, so he could scoot over right next to me. I huffed. Why do you do that? I asked him. What are they asking? I think, I don't know. Why do I do what? That thing, you know. Sephiroth shook his head. When you look at me, it's like I'm drowning. Sephiroth's deep laugh resonated in my ears. But when I look at you, it's as if I'm on fire, not drowning. I rolled my eyes. When you look at me, I blush. Sephiroth leaned closer. Why? My blush increased. Why? I wondered. I don't know. Slowly, Sephiroth's hand came up to my cheek. Lightly, the back of his hand rubbed lightly. Lightly, the back of his hand rubbed lightly against my skin. I almost moaned, but I covered it with a cough. From this? He moved away, and I followed him. I don't know why. Maybe I was cold. Or maybe it didn't have anything to do with being cold. But there I was, scooting back over to him, and I leaned my head on his shoulder. I'm cold, okay? I mumbled sheepishly. Sephiroth looked shocked. I shivered when Sephiroth lightly chuckled against my neck? How? If I'm on his shoulder, you have like a snake neck? Like, whoo, that doesn't make sense. Of course, he planted a light kiss on my neck with his snake neck. Again, I moaned. Jesus, this person. Sephiroth, have you ever loved anyone? We were eating dinner, but I wasn't really touching my food. I was staring intently at Sephiroth. He stared intently at me. Have I loved anyone? He murmured. I loved my mother once, but I suppose I've only ever loved one person. Okay, well, you have to make me a promise, I told him. Promise from now on you'll love your family. My family? Yeah, Kadaj, Loz, and Yuzu, promise you'll love them too. So that way, if I ever disappear, you'll have each other. So he didn't say that the person he loved with her... Okay, okay. Sephiroth's gaze was so strong. He was looking at me as if I was the only person in the world. At first, I wasn't sure he understood what I'd asked of him. Sephiroth placed his hand over mine. Nothing will ever happen to you. But yes, I will, if that's what you want. Thank you, Sephiroth. Yeah, the poor restaurant goers in this place, like, oh my god. Just moaning and staring at each other and... As Sephiroth and I stepped out later that night, both content, I leaned against him. Thank you for such a nice night. Sephiroth looked down, squeezing my hand, and gave me a small smile. You're welcome. Oh, no. No. Can we just not? Let's just all agree not to read this part where I think Sephiroth is more horny. I remember vaguely about this part being horny, but again, just them staring at each other, because I was 14 and had no experience. Like, this is what they do, right? Thanks for being nice about me looking so bad. In the time it takes to blink, Sephiroth gently pulled me beside the building, and I felt my back hit the wall. He pulled me over where he could put me against a wall. His arms were on either side of me, and his strong eyes were devouring me again. It seemed like I was on fire with passion. What is it with women always judging themselves? He asked himself. Sephiroth noticed I had turned frightened and calmed himself, and with a sigh leaned close so he was talking against my cheek. You are the most beautiful woman on any and all worlds. You are the one I want. Sephiroth gently placed his cheek against mine. Why me? We've known each other for only so long. Wrong. Confused, I leaned away, but we were still very close. His eyes were only an inch away from mine, and I, for once, did not look away. He lifted his hand to my shoulder, tracing the collarbone up to my neck to my cheek. I rubbed my cheek against his hand. Have you not felt as if we've met before? As if there is a connection between us? We've met before? My entire body shivered as Sephiroth's tongue traced my cheek and his chest met mine. Yes, he whispered, heavily and huskily. We'd met? We knew each other? Don't trouble yourself, Samantha. My heart fluttered when he spoke my name. Just know this. I let his arms envelop me as his wing erupted from his back and we took to the skies. His breath tickled my ears. We have met before. And you are... I am yours, and you are mine. And it ends with a quote. Of course, a quote. Hope is like a bird that senses the dawn and carefully starts to sing when it's still dark. It has a lot to do with what we just read, right? Because we are in the dark. We're in the dark right now. Chapter 6 of 30. But there's hope. Hope is a bird that's going to get us through this. We can get through this. Apparently now we're dealing with we already had some time traveling, maybe, some world crossing, some self-insert OCing, some meta shit, and now they've met each other before? Was she a character in the world? How? And we got the psychic mind connection thing, and a lot of staring at each other sexily, but not actually doing anything, except apparently before they've kissed, he licked her. They haven't kissed yet, right? But they've now licked each... Oh my god. Oh, this story. This is the most romantic thing I've heard since the Star Wars prequels. Oh my god. This story's terrible, and it's my curse to continue reading it until it's over. Thank you all for joining me. That's probably going to be it for me today, because I still need to finish cleaning and putting everything together. So, since I missed yesterday, I think I'm going to try and stream some horror tomorrow. I'm not 100% when or what, but I'll figure it out later. Thanks for joining me. If you like what I do, if you like this, I don't know why, but you can support the channel for as little as 99 cents a month and get lots of cool bonus content, access to special events, all kinds of stuff. And you can also pay me to not do this anymore. You know? Pay me not to do this. You can follow me on social media, join the Discord, we watch movies, hang out, stream together, it's lots of fun. And next week we'll continue this. That's a threat. It's a threat that we'll continue this, but thank you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.